Hey everyone, Tim Percy here. So lately there's been a lot of talk about the Hawg Trough on the Facebook forums and such in regards to them being flimsy, them breaking. As we all know, the Hawg Trough is the standard for the vast majority of kayak fishing tournaments. So I thought I would walk you through the modifications that I do to my Hawg Trough, and hopefully you guys get to use some of the ideas and find it useful.
Whoa!
Here's the supplies that you'll need. Of course, your standard Hawg Trough. Some guys like to use this weather stripping here, which simply slides into the grooves on the back here. Makes it so the Hawg Trough floats. You drop this into the water without any modification whatsoever, it will sink. For me, I add 3/8 inch wooden dowels to the back groove. They simply fit in real nice into there. Just cut it to the length. The wooden dowels serve two purposes. One, it'll help the Hawg Trough float. With the wooden dowels in, you can drop it in, it won't sink. The other thing it does is it stiffens the Hawg Trough. I've heard a number of guys saying that they've snapped the Hawg Trough. They've snapped a couple of Hawg Troughs. I gotta be honest, I haven't snapped one Hawg Trough yet. Maybe some will say that's because I don't catch big enough fish, but either way, I haven't snapped one yet. And that was even before I started putting the dowels in. So you'll need a couple wooden dowels. I think I paid $1.29 a piece at the local hardware store. Some marine goop to fasten the dowels in, and some Sharpies to mark up your lines. I think there are one or two places out there that you can buy the Hawg Troughs already pre-lined, but if you don't want to, or you don't have access to that, the simple trick of using a Sharpie. Some guys like to use the thicker ones, some guys like to use the thinner ones. Either way, whatever one you like, go with it. For me, doesn't seem to matter which one I use. I always end up slipping and messing up a little bit. And the other thing I use is just some clear lacquer, some non-yellowing clear lacquer. Once I've finished marking up my Hawg Trough and getting all the lines in nice and neat, I'll put several layers of the clear over top, which will help preserve your lines a little bit longer. I find if you don't, they wear off. The magic marker wears off real quick. So with the clear coat over top, it'll make them last a lot longer. The other thing I'll show you is, if you happen to go outside your lines and mess up a little bit, which no matter how steady my hand is, I always mess up. So I'll show you an easy way to clean up those little marks. So for me, the technique I find that works easiest for me, I just use the fine tip Sharpie, and I just kind of use the side of it and go over my lines. Seems to work the best for me. No matter what you do, though, I don't know if I drink too much coffee or not enough coffee, one or the other. I'll always get, a little slip up here and there, which if you're anal retentive like I am, you don't like those marks on there, and you want to clean it up to have your Hawg Trough look really nice. So I've tried using nail polish remover, other removers. No matter what I seem to use, it'll either react with the plastic and melt it, or it'll just smudge the magic marker around, and you end up leaving black smudges on your hog trough. The easiest method I find to get it off, simply grab a razor blade, either use a razor blade or just a razor knife, either way, and just scrape. Takes a couple seconds, and it's gone. So that's the easiest method I've found so far. The other thing you're going to want to do is tether your hog trough. It may float, and that's perfect if you happen to see when it falls off your kayak, and you can retrieve it. As my experience has shown, it doesn't always happen. I've had one fall off my kayak and didn't realize until I got back to the launch, and it's somewhere out there in Lake St. Clair floating around. I didn't tether it. I have another way of fastening onto my kayak. I had marine goop, these metal plates on the back, and then with my Hobie I've got the H-rail accessory mount, and I've modified that and added a couple magnets to it. So it sits on my side rail, makes it easy for me to access it, and it just sort of clamps right onto the Hawg Trough, or the H-rail mount with the magnets and that. But that was a great idea that I had, except for not being tethered. Sometimes waves knock it off and it floats away on you. So I build my own tethers. They're simply just I go to the dollar store and buy some old telephone cord, which I don't know that anybody uses anymore, but nice and convenient. So all I do is snip it off, make a couple of loops. Underneath here I've got a piece of wire that I tie around, just to fasten in, and then I use some shrink tube over top to cover it up. And a couple carabiners, one to attach to the kayak, and then one to simply attach it to the hog trough. So should it happen to fall off, at least it'll be still attached to your kayak. Alright, we'll get to cutting up the dowels real quick. Dowels, just slip them in. Cut it, measure it, cut it to length. Lay those on the saw real quick. I'll spare you that. My dowels are cut to length. Just simply add a little bit of marine goop here and there. And simply slip your dowels in. So just let that dry overnight, and away you go. So this is one that I've already marked up, added a number of coats of the clear. I've got a label maker. Sorry, I've got a label maker. I add my name to it. Should happen to float away, and maybe somebody will return it to me, but hopefully that doesn't happen again. There's different ways. A lot of the tournament directors like you to have some type of marking on the end board. The clear white background or whatever makes it a little bit harder for them to judge whether the mouth is actually touching the bump. So you can either add some guys add some cross lines with the Sharpie and whatever you have. I just happen to have some of the Navionic stickers, so they fit nicely there, so I threw that on there. That gives them a little bit of contrast to see, and make it easier to make sure that the mouth is touching the bump. Okay, for those guys that are wondering in regards to my H-rail mount that I used, this is the standard Hobie accessory mount, and I've added some magnets. I was finding these little ones just weren't good enough, so I added a larger one in the middle afterwards. And like I said, it's simply marine goop metal plate on the back, and it just fastens there. So it makes it easy access for me to grab it and put it back all the time, rather than reaching behind me and going through that. I always know where it is. Well, there you go, guys. I hope you can use some of the tips. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.